the end of the month of May. It's final practice here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The green flag is out, and for the first hour and 10 minutes or so, it's the world feed taking you through. So let's join them now for the final practice carb day here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Drivers assessing changes from the Monday session. And remember, this is the last time these race cars will touch the racetrack until it's time to go racing in the 108th running of the Indy 500.
And you may have noticed the Pacers mascot Boomer they're waving the green. Pacers need to win a game. Stay in touch. Let's get back in the groove. So that's the Pacers taken care of. We're dealing with racers here on track, and all 33 of them. They all have, Hinch, they all have their own workload and work program for this morning. And some are saying we desperately need more laps and more time. Others are saying we feel pretty good and we just want to make sure everything's good, race engine feels good, and then put it away. But let's start working our way through the field as we say good morning and head to pit road to Marty Snyder.
Happy Carb Day, guys. Good morning to you as well. Going to be a busy session for Kyle Larson. Diff, he's one of those drivers who wants more laps and as many laps in traffic as he can possibly get. Two full tank runs for Kyle Larson coming in this 2-hour session. Also practicing a couple of starts and restarts as well. So Kyle Larson with a lot to check off on the agenda here on Carb Day, Kevin Lee.
Santino Ferrucci is strapped in the famous number 14 from A.J. Foyt, and he was a contender last year. Ran up at the front, led laps, finished third, and White might be scary as he says, my race car this year is actually a little better than it was last year. This year it is. So what they want to work on today is just
and the goal for them today, just run laps and fine tune. He was pretty happy on Monday in what has frankly been kind of a mixed bag of satisfaction amongst the 5 Chip Ganassi racing cars this month. It's been a unique week for Dixon too, just due to some scheduling things. He's actually been doing some sim work for the upcoming IndyCar races and even for the 24 hours of Le Mans in June. So this session today, of course, is just going to allow him to get back to Indy mode. But Scott said before he got in the car to me, there's always something you can learn by running laps here, and they'll need to learn a lot. 21st is his worst 500 start, but even in his 22nd career 500 start, expect to see Dixon busy today just trying to fine-tune the 9 car. Dave Burns.
Dylan, Helio Castroneves has done his install lap and back on pit road for the crew to attend to it. They need this practice. They missed 45 minutes of Monday's practice, and Helio told me there's a change we were going to make that I very much want to see if it works during this practice session. If we get that, he said, I'm 89 to 93% sure that that's going to be the right way to go. And boy, what a way to go it would be if it could take Helio Castroneves to his 5th unprecedented win here at the Indianapolis 500. Speaking of unprecedented, that trophy, the precious metals that are involved in let's go to some special people. That is Jeff Burton and Kim Kuhn. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Dave. This is what they're all after, and Carb Day is the perfect event to kick off the weekend. A 2-hour practice. Later, it's the Pit Crew Challenge. It all caps off with the concert. The fans are out in droves. They're getting in the spirit. It is fun for them, but Jeff, for the teams, they take this very seriously. Last opportunity to get their car dialed in for the 500.
Yeah, it's all business for the teams, the drivers. This is a chance to do everything you didn't get a chance to do. Townsend mentioned all the hours of track time. People still have questions. Winning the Indy 500, we'll see that on Sunday, but the decisions made after today's practice, they may be why you win the 500. This is a very special time, an important time trying to win this race.
Kim, Jeff, thank you very much. We couldn't ask for a better day for the final hit out. Of course, pit stop competition coming up a little later on as well. Advanced ticket sales have been so promising. We believe there's going to be in excess of 330,000, maybe closer to 345 on Sunday, which will just be epic.
And the crowd on the front straightaway, including the Swedes, are getting ready for that pit stop competition that'll come this afternoon, and all of the colorful entertainment, James, on offer here on Carb Day.
Guys, this has always been my favorite day of the month. You really start to feel the energy in the speedway ramp up. You see how packed the grandstands already are. It's an important session, but it's not obviously the pressure of race day for the drivers. You've got the pit stop competition, which is fun and something that gets to bring some attention and some credit to the guys and girls that go over pit wall. It's just everything. You got the concerts. You've got live recordings of podcasts like Off Track with Hinch and Rossi down at Pagoda Plaza right after the conclusion. I'm just saying.
A little plug.
Just saying. If you're in town listening.
Hey, as we watch the Elf Honda of Catherine Legg, who was one of those who falls into the camp of wanting more laps, wasn't quite happy with where her, in air quotes, race car was at. So she wants some more reps here just to feel a little more comfortable. Need to tell you fellas, you've got to note that, and these are the words, there was a collaborative discussion at the drivers' meeting this morning between the 33 drivers and race control as to race procedure. Now, I believe that was for further clarification and the driver's input on the snake or the dragon, on weaving, if you want to put it that way. INDYCAR has mandated that when you come out of turn 4, remember this was see the dotted line there? In last year, we saw drivers going below that yellow line, closer to pit road, and race control said that's not going to be allowed this year. And I think the drivers have asked, well, what about elsewhere? What about during? So there is a press release, an announcement coming later today. So look forward to seeing what that is and what that collaborative discussion yielded.
Yeah, I mean, really the rule that is established is right here. This dotted line is a no-go zone. You cannot have 4 wheels over that line for any reason unless you're coming to pit lane. The exception would be during green flag running. If you're staying on track, if you were forced there, it could go under review. But what they don't want is what happened last year with a big, aggressive, proactive dragon move down below that dotted white line. James, what do you hear about some of the collaborative driver feedback as we take a quick look to last year?
Yeah, you see this move. Joseph Newgarden, final lap, coming off of 4, stays all the way down, goes a car width and a half below that line. That's what they're trying to eliminate, just for fear of anything going wrong and a driver finding the front of that attenuator. But what I give INDYCAR so much credit for is how often they're in contact with the drivers, and these collaborative discussions, a lot of time, the feedback from the drivers does lead to procedural changes, to rule changes. And, you know, these are the 33 men and women that are out there risking their lives and know what it feels like from inside the car. So it makes sense to get feedback from them.
That's Kyle Kirkwood ducking up the inside there of Catherine Legg, the Andretti Global Auto Nation machine, the pink and black car. And there's Catherine in the middle. Here comes Colton Herter in the Gainbridge Honda. So the Andretti Global drivers are out there grouping together. Catherine's driving for Dale Coyne this year, but now you've got all 3 Andretti Global Hondas, 1, 2, 3 there.
Yeah, and you see Colton Herta picking up right where he left off in the final practice on Monday. I shouldn't say the final practice, the last practice that we had. Aggressive, comfortable, and very racy, James, as he makes the move on his teammate, and presumably will settle into trying to catch Marcus Ericsson further up the road.
If that was an honest pass and Kirkwood didn't kind of lift to fall back in line, man, that car is quick, because the 26 was able to just pull up, suck up on the back of the 27, and he popped out well before they got to the start-finish line, which is kind of the unspoken rule of, if you're going to make a move, you want to be decisive, you want to pop out by around that time to give the driver you're passing the opportunity to adjust accordingly, their line, their entry speed.
For Kyle Kirkwood now, it's like, okay, can I just do what Colton did? How quickly can I suck back up? As Ed Carpenter throwing some shade there on Marcus Ericsson a little bit down the front straightaway. Ericsson getting far left to the pit wall, a little dust flying off the left sides. That's good practice for what race day is really like.
Exactly right. No hesitation from Ericsson to fade right back up. Driver's right in front of the 20, heading back into turn 1.
Dave Burns, what you got?
What an interesting month of May it's been for Marcus Ericsson after winning in 2022, nearly winning 2 in a row last year. We know it's not been good. One of the hardest crashes of his career happened to this driver, and they had to use a backup car to get into the show. So it hasn't been great, but then Marcus has talked about this. I believe on X, he even said that he was in a way glad that it happened, because everything happens for a reason kind of mentality, and he will learn from this and go on. But it's been a bit of a struggle, and they need a good carb day today to make sure the 28 is placed right for the race on Sunday.
one of the larger incidents of this month of May. And Ericsson has commented that this car hinge, and you can maybe go into more details, this car doesn't feel quite as good. What would feel different? What doesn't quite gel or feel the same when you go from your primary car to a backup car?
Yeah, it's such a difficult thing to explain. As Herta also getting the move done on Carpenter. Carpenter also making Herta go all the way down to the wall to make it happen. But you know, from inside the car, you've spent so many hours driving around in your primary chassis. You have an understanding of what it sounds like, what it feels like at turn-in, what the kind of feedback that it gives you through the wheel, through the seat, through the pedals. And as much as these teams try to build identical race cars, and the components in theory are the same from the same manufacturer, assembled in the same race shop, there's just always little differences. Occasionally, you might actually like your backup car better.
Yeah.
It's rarely as fast, but it might give you a good feel. And for Marcus, you know, for Ericsson there, he's just kind of dealing with getting used to this new tub.
It's getting used to the tub, and it's also just regaining the confidence, frankly, in turn 4. I was watching just a lap ago when Marcus Ericsson running in traffic. He's actually leaving a fair bit of room now to that rumble strip in turn 4 as he learns to sort of trust himself and trust the dynamic of the dirty air. The last thing he wants is a repeat of that 2 days before race day.
How about this? The third car in shot, that's orange and blue car, that's Kyle Larson. And these are valuable, valuable laps for the NASCAR superstar, because the next time on track will be in race. This is a replay, big box. Colton Herta on Ed Carpenter, right up against the pit wall.
And I wonder what Ed was trying to send a signal like, hey, if you're going to pass, go to the outside. And Colton's like, hey, I got notice for you. I'll pass where I want to, when I want to. Get ready for Sunday, Ed, because we've got something for the field.
Here's the thing about the outside, Ed. I don't want it. I want the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and take that real quick. And honestly, those are the kind of moves that Colton Herta has been able to make. He's been so decisive in traffic. And one of the big things we talked about, and Colton even mentioned this, as we see the two yellow cars, Palou on the inside there, McLaughlin there on the outside of your screen, changing position up front. But Colton said, look, yes, my car was very good on Monday's practice, but that's when it was 87 degrees ambient, it was 123 degree track temp, and we've talked a lot about how these cars are so condition sensitive. We made the joke that what the Andretti Global team really wants at this point is 87 degrees on race day and 123 degree track temp. We're only at 100 degrees track temp, 79 ambient. These are fairly different conditions, but the 26 still looks sorted.
Yeah. And Sunday likely to have some cloud cover. Now this is fascinating. On board here with Kyle Larson as he follows the dominant car from this year and the dominant car from last year. One Chevy, one Honda with McLaughlin and Alex Palou. Let's just ride for a lap, guys, and see how Kyle Larson is doing with traffic. Looks like a pretty easy give there for McLaughlin on the lift. Can Larson close on Palou?
You're doing good here. Those guys are working together.
Looks like a nice, honest pass there.
The only thing I don't see right away, James, is any adjustment for clean air. That's important. And the reason that's important is that if your car's working well in traffic, it's typically going to be way too neutral, way too positive in clean air. So I think part of the evolution for Kyle Larson will be learning, if you get aggressive with your adjustments for dirty air in traffic to get the thing to turn, don't forget to reset when you get out front. We have seen drivers in the past get surprised and lose control when they pick up that clean air once they do get up to the lead.
And it's so easy to do. You're in the thick of a battle. Your mind, your mental capacity is so focused on executing passes, being picture perfect, and then all of a sudden you make the pass, and as you're making it, you think, oh no, I forgot to change my tools, and you turn into turn one and just hope you can at least have the chance to fix it before you get to two.
Well, you saw plenty of shots of Scott McLaughlin. There he is, third car in shot, the yellow Submarine, Pennzoil, Penske, Chevy. There he is right there. And the last guy to win from pole was Team Penske's Simon Pagenaud when he swept the month of May in 2019. With more on that, here's Marty Snyder.
And Simon Pagenaud is here, and you mentioned it, Diff. 2019 started on the pole, used the same exact pit stall to win the race. Welcome back to the Speedway. What's it like to be back?
It's great to be seen. It's my first time back at a racetrack. There's no other better places than coming back here. Delighted.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. So Scott was sort of vague last Sunday about a driver that was helping him. Turns out that was you that was helping him. What advice have you given him, and what questions has he asked you, Simon?
Well, first of all, Scott doesn't need that much advice. He's a true champion. But like every champion, he's always trying to find a little edge, a little more. It's so tight right now. The field is just so talented. And, you know, with what I've been going through, not racing Indy, obviously, this is my old team as well. When they asked me if I could help, when Scott asked me if I could help, I gladly wanted to do it, because working with someone like him that really wants to get better, that's exciting. And I did open all my books to him, a lot of books, a lot of writing, and I just tried to walk him through the process of how every day goes and how much you have to, you know, crank it up every day without making the mistake of cranking it up too much. And he's just incredible with the way that he can pick up things. It's the type of guy, you tell him exactly what he needs to do, he goes out, first lap, does it. Unbelievable. He has such talent and a capacity to understand that's really incredible. So I'm very proud that he asked me to help him. And I'm, you know, obviously the team is doing a sensational job with the speed of the cars, but it's been fun for me. It's been fun to be involved. It's fun to have that chance to be again with Tim Penske and him. And then when he got the pole, honestly, I was as excited as if I was in the car. So, so that was really cool. And I hope everything goes smoothly. And I think he's got a real shot.
We're going to let Coach Simon get back to it, but it's number one, great to see him back at the racetrack. And how about Scott McLaughlin reaching out to Simon Pagenaud saying, hey, I need a little bit of help. Help me be better at the Speedway. And Simon has done that every step of the way so far this month.
And Simon doing that tribute lap tomorrow in the late Gilles de Ferran's Indy 500 winning car, which is really cool. Need to show you a couple of replays. Let's start with one of the 6 rookies, Christian Rasmussen. Check this out. Massive lockup on pit lane entry. He's learning the parameters in his first Indy 500.
It's one of the most important parts of Carb Day is learning how to get to pit lane off of turn 4. That is an absolutely shagged set of tires. Will not be able to use that again. Pit lane speed violation. You got to adjust your brake bias. And here was McLaughlin. We were actually on board with him when we were watching the interview with Pagenaud there, and it looked visually way too fast coming in. You can see those blue lights didn't come on till well after the pylons. Kind of gives me the indication that maybe those lights start flickering when he's reached that target speed.
Reminds me so much of what we saw from Scott Dixon a couple of years ago with the penalty, and specifically the surprise that McLaughlin did not make a correction, practice that correction on pit lane by overslowing the first timing line segment past the pit speed start line in order to eliminate, you know, any kind of issue. I think that's really important for all of these drivers, is if you come in hot, you have a chance to fix it. Don't ruin your Indy 500 with a pit speed penalty if it's in your control.
And in his first Indy 500, Scotty Mack made an error on pit road entry, you know, locking up, cars getting sideways, and that was pretty costly on him. So it's dancing a delicate line, Hinch, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, it's one of the most difficult pit lanes to get in and out of. You're going so much faster on the racetrack than you are in pit lane, on the biggest delta, so your brain has to adjust. But I just want to run back down to pit lane real quick and show you guys a quick replay of something we caught on Scott McLaughlin's car. One of his mechanics gave the wheel a little push, and this is how free it is spinning on its own. No one is pushing that anymore. When we talk about the mechanical drag in these race cars, aero drag is easy to understand. We've explained that a lot. Downforce equals drag. You get more speed in the corners, less in the straightaway, etc. But a lot of the speed in these Indy cars comes from reducing mechanical friction in places like the gearbox and places like the uprights, which allow the wheels to spin that freely. If that was a road course car, Townsend, you'd kick it, it would do 2, maybe 3 rotations and sort of grind to a halt. These speedway cars are engineered so precisely, and that was such a good example of seeing how free they can roll.
There's race-winning bicycles in the Tour de France that don't spin that well.
Exactly right. Exactly.
And you're talking about a 35-pound wheel and tire as Graham Rahal starts to carve forward, making a move there on his teammate Takuma Sato. On board here with Pato O'Ward.
As you watch Pato O'Ward in the Arrow McLaren Chevy, pleased to say that it's NBC Sports' 6th consecutive year of covering the greatest spectacle in racing. And back is Danica Patrick and Mike Tirico. Good morning.
Good morning. It is so good to hear your voice, Diff, and be back with everybody at our spot here at the Peacock Pit Box with pit lane behind us. And cars have been exiting, obviously, as everyone's trying to just get everything perfect for 48 hours from now. Good to be back with you.
So good to see you, Mike.
6 times top 10 in your 8 Indy 500. Let's start with today. For the drivers, go back to your experience in the car. What are you trying to get out of today?
Well, there's 2 hours of practice, so it's a little different than when I did it where there was an hour. So there's truly enough time to really make improvements on the car and make it better. So you're going to see people going through a lot of changes, but really you're trying to get out there. Obviously everyone did their install check, make sure nothing's leaking after the mechanics have plenty of time to fiddle with the car. And now they're all getting into little packs. And of course, at that point, you're trying to decide where you want to be in a pack. Do you want a small pack, a big pack? Do you want to be with your teammates? Because at the front of the pack, it's pretty easy. And as you get further and further back in the line, it gets harder and harder. So as you see the session go on, we're going to see the groups probably get bigger. And if you feel really brave and you want to really test your car, you get to the back of the pack. It's also a safe place to be if the car is really not running well, because you can abort. But yeah, this is a real practice day.
And you want to leave here feeling great, but the worst part can be if you leave here and things aren't just right, because then it becomes a real 48 hours of tinkering and questions. So what's it like for the drivers as you go through this afternoon and this morning, hoping everything's just right, but worried that you may have a lot of unanswered questions when you leave here this afternoon?
It can be a really tense and frustrating day. You obviously want to run smoothly, have no problems, all the changes, do what you want. Most of all, you're comfortable in practice behind cars. That's really what you want. But if you're not, then yes, the challenge can be you might want to wholesale change it for the race. But you really don't want to. You don't want to throw away everything that you've done previous to this day. But that's the challenge is not doing that, but also feeling like you've made the most of your practice and you have the best setup going into the race, because at this point in time, you'd like to think it's the most accurate for what it's going to be in the race, since it's only in a couple of days. But the weather is probably going to throw another wrench into this, because while it's beautiful and sunny today, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case for race day. We will hope that's not it. But if it's cooler, if it's cloudy, the balance of the car changes too. And as you guys can see, the packs are getting bigger and people are getting runs. And you know, this is like a dance out there, choreography of passing. Because when you're running at full speed, you know you're trying to defend your position. But when you're in practice like this is where sometimes misunderstandings come in. It's like, are you passing? Are you not passing? And so this is hopefully everybody stays clean. But it's good to see these big packs, and now we're going to really see what these cars are made out of.
And good to get updates on the different teams and where they are, including the number 12, Will Power. Let's go down to Kevin.
Yeah, Mike, we've talked about Scott McLaughlin on the pole and 2 teammates also on the front row. So I checked in with Power's team and also Newgarden's team. Both were dealing with a brake pedal inconsistency this morning. Newgarden has said it's way better now, but Power was talking about how he had a long brake pedal and he stopped long on his first stop, so that's critical to get that assessed. The other is they feel the cars are great. They're just going to do one long run, confirm some things. Also interesting, confirm fuel mileage. They should have a handle on that, but it's a fresh engine today, so just make sure it's getting the same mileage as the previous Chevy.
Most laps churned, thanks Kev. Car 30, Pietro Fittipaldi in that 5-hour Energy Honda for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, then Romain Grosjean. Look at this, some good group running here, headed by Marcus Armstrong. His teammate Alex Palou pops out in the DHL Honda. So doing some good teamwork there. Then the Shell Chevy of Joseph Newgarden. Will Power, Marcus Ericsson. You've got 3 Indy 500 winners there, 1, 2, 3 in a line. All getting good track experience. Armstrong just pulls out and says, I'll leave you guys to it. and comes back in, thinks about it. This is where you've got to be really decisive, Hinch, don't you?
Yeah, that's where some of those rookie colors show a little bit. Marcus Armstrong trying to find a place in line. Wasn't sure if he was going to let 2 cars by or 3. Power didn't give him a choice. Just took that position. But this is great experience for Armstrong. Like you said, Diff, running with 3 500 winners. He is in his rookie attempt here at the race. As we see a little bit of that chaos you're going to see in the race as well. Cars coming out of pit lane and that big closing rate into turn 3.
I think Kyle Larson handling himself extremely well in these confusing situations, which is not being totally sure what's going on with some of these slower cars in terms of qualifying pace that he's working with. He's being very measured, taking his time to study things and then making his move. There he sits behind the 23 former winner, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Good guy to follow.
Have we made a big enough deal about Captain America?
No.
RHR just drop parachutes in. I'm doing a one-off with Dry Reinbold Cusick Motorsports, also their one-off specialty at the Indy 500. I think Ryan's done an awesome job being in the Fast 12, and he's running well at the moment. He's 9th.
Yeah, I talked to team owner Dennis Reinbold this morning, and quiet confidence, I think, would be the best way to sum up the team owner. Again, Dennis Reinbold and Dry Reinbold Racing, a one-off team with a one-off driver, making into that Fast 12 diff, a big deal. But I think in terms of race pace, between Ryan, the team, everything just seems very calm, very methodical. They've done this so many times before. That's the kind of mentality that can surprise on race day.
He's a free diver. He's got to be calm, right? Marty?
Hey, Diff, some valuable experience for Kyle Larson so far in this session. You know, Danica mentioned a moment ago the possibility for weather on Sunday, which begs the question, what will Kyle Larson do? Trying to pull the double, trying to run the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in one day. I talked to Cliff Daniels, his Cup Series crew chief, who is actually here today with the entire 5 team, and he said, honestly, you know, Kyle said yesterday it's going to be a game time decision. Cliff goes, nope, it's going to be a moment-by-moment decision as to what Kyle Larson does on Sunday if rain is present. There are scenarios where Kyle Larson would not run the Indy 500 at all. There's scenarios where he would run most of the race and get out of the car, and there are scenarios where he could run both races or maybe even skip the Coca-Cola 600. On that side, he has Justin Allgaier standing by for him, who will be at practice with the 5 team tomorrow afternoon. But here are the facts we have to deal with, Diffie, when we consider what's going on. Number 1, he is the championship leader in the NASCAR Cup Series championship right now. As of right now, he's a 30-point lead in that. Number 2, the Coca-Cola 600 pays more points because there are 4 stages than any race all year long. And also they can just look at their own race team the last couple of years. To advance to the round of 8 last year, they advanced by 1 playoff point. To advance to the round of 8 2 years ago, they advanced by 2 playoff points. So if they do not run the Coca-Cola 600, that's a lot of playoff points potentially on the table they would walk away from. So it's not an easy decision, is it, as to which race Kyle Larson might participate in if they have to make that decision.
Tell you what, Marty, right now, Larson's thinking of none of that. It's just trying to hang on to his race car.
Time.
There comes the call to pit lane. Total number of laps on these tires, 28 for Kyle Larson. Just short, actually, Hinch, of a full stint. You saw teammate Pato O'Ward go by a couple laps ago, but that was with about 8 laps fresher tires. Larson is getting a real sense if he falls back in the pack for some reason today, how difficult it's going to be on Sunday.
But I got to say, I'm so impressed. Not that I'm surprised at this point of the month to still be impressed by Kyle Larson, but he's found himself already in a few tricky situations. He looks so comfortable falling back in line when being passed, which is such an important point, and he's held on to it for basically a whole stint.
Let's see how he's on the brakes here. Deep. That looks really good. That's still Hunter-Reay in front of him?
Little lock up there on the right front, but again, this is not a driver that's used to carbon fiber. Even cold carbon fiber brakes are better than the steel brakes in a stock car.
Even this coming into your pit box.
A new pit box from where he's been practicing all month.
He's just finding that pit box is hard.
And he's the 3rd last one.
4,
Here it
3,
is.
2, 1.
Nice.
Perfect on the marks, a true professional.
It's really difficult to articulate, and you guys have done a fantastic job all month, but you can hype him up because he's a NASCAR superstar, but we can't underscore enough how impressive he has been at this new and very demanding task.
If you had never told me who Kyle Larson was or what he had done in his life, and you put him in an all black or an all white race car with no stickers and no sponsors and sent him out there and just said, hey, tell me what you think of this guy. Tell me what you think he's done. I would have thought this guy had years of experience doing this at this level. And I am just, you know, continuously impressed with how well he's adapted.
Well, I'll tell you what, he does have years of experience of oval racing. In fact, he has way more oval racing experience than anybody. The question is, can you win Indy on your first try? Well, this guy's done it. Alexander Rossi, as we ride with the Mission Foods on board. And I think this is the best of the Aero McLaren cars in terms of driver setup combinations so far. Strong in qualifying. Thought they might have something for the front row with Team Penske. They did for one lap, but they didn't have the consistency. But when it comes down to grinding through unpleasant circumstances in dirty air, I think Alexander Rossi definitely going to be one to watch on Sunday. This run right now, Diff, he is deep into the tire stint, 24 laps complete.
Hinch, you're one of his best mates. Is he back? Is the old Alex Rossi back? Because it seems like it this month.
Car is good. It's not sucking up.
Car is good, but it's not sucking up.
Yeah, that's something we hear a lot from drivers in these group runs. But to your point, Diff, yes. I mean, Alex Rossi has a confidence this year that was certainly missing in his first year at McLaren in 2023. An engineering change there has really reinvigorated him. He knows what he needs out of the car. And from the very first laps here last week, he was incredibly confident in this race car. Qualifies, we kind of joked, first in class behind the Penskes, who were truly in a class of their own. He feels comfortable in race trim. He was quick in qualifying. This could be a good week for him.
And he's delivering consistency to his race team. Pato O'Ward been a little erratic to start the year. He's had some issues. If Rossi has a strong 500, he'll be the best Aero McLaren car in the championship points, and it'll be fascinating to see how the team dynamics might change a bit as maybe a little more support goes behind Rossi down the stretch.
Just the dynamic there this month has been so different because Callum Ilott comes in for a one-off. Théo Pourchaire, the French driver, the young French star, he's going to do the rest of the season. Larson is in with the entourage. So there's like, it's not normal, you know, in air quotes, if you want to put it that way, but they're handling the turbulence beautifully. Here's Scott Dixon at the head of the pack. And popping out is the super fast young Dutch driver Rinus VK.
He popped out, he dropped back, and then he popped out and made another pass on Dixon. 25 laps complete, Hinch. I think this is one of the stronger cars we've seen this late in the tire stint. Let's head down to pit lane. Dave Burns.
So Townsend, we talked about Captain America, Ryan Hunter-Reay. What about his teammate, Connor Daly, also in a one-off for the team of Dennis Reinbold and Don Cusick? He told me yesterday, you know, you don't practice around everybody, but literally the only two cars that have passed me this weekend have been Scott McLaughlin and Alex Palou. Our car is very good. I haven't started this far back in a long time, but our car is sneaky fast, and I think you're going to hear something out of Connor Daly on race day. Dylan?
Somebody else who you may have to keep your eye on race day is Marco Andretti. He said, I haven't felt this good in a race car here in 5 to 8 years, and called their Monday practice the most productive 2 hours he's had here at IMS in a decade. So Marco was feeling good at the beginning of the week, not so much today. He called the race car a little bit on the sketchy side, and they actually changed the entire rear wing assembly. So put the wing, basically their backup wing assembly, on the rear of the race car, and also have made some front wing adjustments as well, just to try to get Marco a little bit more comfortable. Track conditions were hot on Monday, hot again today. So this is a little bit disappointing, I think, for them as they try to get it dialed in, Kevin.
Dylan, I mentioned at the top of the show that Santino Ferrucci told me he thought his race car this year was better than last year's that finished third. 10 minutes ago, he said, I really don't like the car. And just now, they are pushing the car back to the garage. This is A.J. Foyt's number 14. He is 5 miles an hour slower than anyone else so far. So that's the bad. Now the good. Our late friend and colleague, Robin Miller, had an award named after him for basically a broad circumstance of service to the IndyCar industry, and longtime A.J. Foyt Racing public relations specialist Ann Fernoro was honored here this morning. And among the video tribute for legends, Tony Stewart said this: the only reason A.J. isn't in jail because of Ann. Marty.
That might actually be true, Kevin. Pole sitter Scott McLaughlin, just 17th fastest so far in this practice session. What were his comments on the handling of the three car? Listen in.
Feels good, like it doesn't have a huge amount of front grip, man. Choppy. We'll go red 6. Red 6, please. We want to see how our pace is back there. We stay up.
McLaughlin going to come to pit road this time. They wanted to run it all the way almost out of fuel to make sure that they are getting a correct fuel mileage read, like Kevin mentioned a moment ago with the Team Penske cars. You know, Townsend, I want to know from your standpoint, you know, Dylan just mentioned it was hot on Monday. It's warm today, but Danica mentioned it might be cooler for race day. So how far do you go down the road of tuning your car to the conditions today versus what it might be on race day conditions?
You have to be prepared and well practiced at dealing with whatever you are given at Indianapolis. So if it's starting to get hot and greasy right now, learn to adjust. If it's overcast on Sunday, at least you've been down the path with your driver. Don't you agree, James? Adjust for right now. There's no guarantees in Indy. You have to make all conditions work at all times under fire.
It's also practicing to adjust to conditions. So as you get into the race, you've got a little bit of experience of making adjustments in hot stops, being limited to the changes that you're able to make on race day. Tire pressures, front wing, rear wing, and then obviously the driver tools inside the car.
And it's the same for adjusting things in the cockpit, as you just said. Even if you think you're going to be up front all day, if you're Team Penske, put yourself back. You might end up there due to an untimely yellow, an issue on pit lane. You better get comfortable whether you're 15th, 1st, or 30th.
All right, the two of you have almost 20 Indy 500s to your name. Look at the blue and white car right there. That is the Cliffs Honda for Meyer Shank Racing and the four-time winner, Helio Castro Neves. At the age of 49, and as a one-off, Hinch, you go first. Is his drive for 5 real? Can he be the only person to ever win 5?
Absolutely. There's nothing that's stopping Helio Castro Neves, other than the 32 other drivers. There's maybe a few things trying to stop him, but there's nothing that says he can't be the one that comes out on top next Sunday. He's done it 4 times before. He's done it fairly recently and done it with this team fairly recently. So yes, Indy knows how to throw up a couple surprises. No doubt this is, I don't think dark horse is the right term, but he's a contender.
Well, as you're right on board here, as he's well back in the line, we'll be watching those white gloved hands working the mastery in terms of adjustments behind the wheel, getting his race car just right for the final stint.
Well, we talk about the sublime speeds here at the Speedway. Jeff and Kim are going to show and tell us a little more.
Yeah, you know, Lee, during the month of May, we talk about humans doing superhuman things, and one of the best places to witness that is corner entry. We're at the outlook of turn 3, and to watch these cars lap after lap, the speed, the precision, the focus from the drivers, it is one of the best places to take in the action.
Well, we can see on the screen is, you know, they're reaching 230 miles per hour. That's just a number. Out here, it's real. I mean, when they come by you, they are absolutely moving. They disappear. Like when they go by you, they're gone. They leave into turn 4. It is crazy how fast they're going. And Kim, I got to be honest, I don't like my back to them. I like to see, because I used to be never here, but I was one of those drivers that did dumb stuff, and they could get up here with us because yeah, they're out there pushing.
And then you think about doing them 200 laps on Sunday. It's just incredible.
From right up close to high above, Joseph Newgarden in that Shell Chevy leads the way, but look at the workload of Rinus VeeKay. Pulls out again. He's been in the middle of the pack. He's been at the front of the pack. This is the youngster who gave us just the exhilarating moments in qualifying over the weekend after sustaining a pretty big crash. The crew went to work at Ed Carpenter Racing, and they got this young guy out there who just brought the crowd to its feet to make it to the Fast 12. This is what happened to Rinus VeeKay. This kid steps it up here at the Speedway, but his car stepped out.
Early draw for him on Saturday was supposed to give him an advantage. Lost the car in 2. Crew goes to work. A lot of damage to that number 21 machine, but a phenomenal effort. Got it back on track. And guys, we talk a lot about the agony of missing out in qualifying, the ecstasy of being up front. Rinus VeeKay was the only driver that experienced both in the same day.
Well, I think huge credit to Ed Carpenter Racing, too, that they were able to repair that heavily damaged car, throw a bunch of new parts on, and the car was still super quick, fast enough, in fact, to qualify in 7th there for Sunday's race. And I think just on track right now, I think He's only really kind of stayed there in first or second in the line of this run. So I don't think we have a true read of what it's like deep in the field for Rinus VeeKay. But James, at this point, I think this kid's planning on being at the front all day long the way he's practicing.
Yeah, he's just clocked his 36th lap. He's the second highest lap count right now on the day. And I'm with you, man. We've seen him run up front a lot in this race. He likes it up front. He likes mixing it up with one or two other cars, having a decent amount of clean air. And look, he's starting 7th.
Yep.
Which is amazingly his worst qualifying position here at the Indy 500.
Look at this.
Oh, that was a late move on Scott Dixon.
He was shadowing him down the backstretch into turn 3. VeeKay led 24 laps last year. Remember the back and forth with Palou? They were sharing the fuel load, the workload at the front as Dixon dives for pit lane. And that leaves Newgarden, then Marco Andretti. There is the 98, the Mackay entry. Rasmussen in the middle there. Then Pato O'Ward as we rejoin Mike and Danica. How's the view down there, guys? What do you think? Great to be back at the Speedway, isn't it?
It is unparalleled, Lee. It's the greatest spot you could imagine to watch everything and hear everything go by as well. And we want to jump into the conversation we're having a few minutes ago about Kyle Larson. You lived so much of your career in NASCAR, so you get it. You know Kyle. What's your take on what he's trying to pull off on Sunday?
It's incredible for him to jump into the car and be as fast as he is, consistently like he is. It's really hard to get in these cars. Everything just happens so much faster. I know that sounds silly, but stock cars still go over 200 miles an hour. They're still very fast cars, but everything happens here so quickly. Everything from takeoff out of the pits to turning into the corner, turning the wheel at 240. Let me tell you, you have to do that slower than you do at 200 miles an hour. The car is going so fast. And he'll soon realize that there are going to be other challenges, everything from the pit stops to the restarts. Starts and restarts in an IndyCar are very challenging. They are like first one to flat, first one to full throttle, where in stock cars it happens a little slower and you kind of accelerate with the group. So there's still some challenges on the horizon, but everything so far would indicate he knows what the heck he's doing.
Trying to pull off the Larson 1677. It's 500 here, 600 in Charlotte, and 577 miles to get from here to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Santino Ferrucci saw him go back behind the wall a little bit earlier. He's with Kevin now. Kev?
Yeah, Santino, I heard you say on the radio, I really don't like the car, and then a few minutes later, it's back in the garage. What's going on?
Yeah, you know, obviously we rebuilt the cars over the week. Our aero balance was, 3.5% wrong towards the front, which is unusual. Weight distribution's not where we want it. You're not going to fix any of that stuff on pit lane, unfortunately. We tried to do a Band-Aid. It didn't work. I'm just super loose in the middle of 1 and 3, and I've already counter-steered the car multiple times, way looser than I ever have been in qualifying. So, the boys are back there hustling. Right now, I'm really counting on them to get it back out here in the next 20 minutes so we can get some practice in.
Critical, and they've still got an hour and 15 minutes to dial in that car for race day.
Good on Santino for saying, hey, this is not right. I mean, 3.5% aero balance, 0.3% of a percent of aero balance would be a surprise, not 3%. So something drastically wrong there in the rebuild.
He talks about the weight distribution as well. Obviously, that's how much weight's on the front axle versus the rear has a tremendous effect on the handling of these race cars at these speeds. And if all those things are off, as Santino said, these cars get completely blown apart and put back together, rebuilt. Everything is checked, and it is so easy for just one little thing to be missed, maybe two little things in this case to be missed. But like you said, great heads-up action from him to just say, no, guys, we need to go back and take a look at this.
This 26 car, you see the Gainbridge Honda right there, second car in shot, Colton Herter. He's got the 4th best time of this session. He's got the best 4-lap consecutive average and just seems to be in the groove this month of May. Gainbridge Honda has been quick but consistent. Colton is relaxed and confident. And look at that. Just ducks up the inside of his teammate. No worries. See you later. I'm getting on with it.
Yeah, late-ish move there from Colton, but decisive. Got it done. You see the gap he already pulled out on the 98. Marco probably having to lift a little more than expected.
Oh, massive lift. I mean, look at how much Marco dropped back. Marco would have probably liked to hang on to the back of his teammate and get to those next 2 cars up the road. On board here with Callum Ilott with the NTT data on board. Let's head back down the pit lane with Dylan Welsh.
Hey, so a couple things on Marco here. He just came on the radio and said he's still really loose. The other thing they're doing is working through all of the different fuel maps, I think just to kind of try to get an understanding of the mileage on each of those maps for the race. So if you see him dropping back or kind of sporadically moving throughout this pack, that may be part of the reason why. They're just trying to get a reading on all the different settings on the steering wheel that Marco has.
Well, Colton Herta, his teammate up there, nobody went further on the first stint last year. I think 34 laps, and remember that includes the pace laps as well to start the race. So Colton Herta found great fuel efficiency at the start of the race last year. And I think that's really always the story, right? Is settling in, James, saving as much gas as you can. And last year they got to, lap 92 before the first caution. So it was a lot of green flag running to start this thing, but it just seems like we're in a slightly more chaotic vibe. In practice, there's been more incidents. I think more people struggling a little bit with the balance of their cars. Do you think we'll see the same kind of green running on Sunday?
It's so tough to predict these things. I mean, the odds of a first lap caution at the speedway, not as high as you might think, as you see the number 98 Andretti Global entry there of Marco Puignerot.
Hitting off turn 3, which is not necessarily a great sign. Like, how comfortable are you if you have to duck in early versus taking advantage of another hot stop off of 4?
Said to Kyle Kirkwood, who we ride with thanks to AutoNation mobile service yesterday, a lot of people's memories are blurred about you, Kyle, from last year, because all they remember is right here, he hit Felix Rosenqvist. He was wrong time, wrong place. As we remind you what went down last year. This is all people remember of last year with Kyle Kirkwood, because it was so spectacular, and the wheel going flying and hit a spectator's car, not a spectator, a spectator's car. And Kyle said, yeah, that's right. And I said, but people don't remember that you were running at the front. He said, we had a shot to win last year in just his second attempt. And this is how my Indy 500, my first Indy 500 for Andretti Global ended. But he said, I've taken all the positives away from last year. I remember how fast we were. We've got even better at our pit stops. And basically, in a nice way, he was saying, don't discount me this year. I'm back.
Nor should you ever. I mean, he's the only Andretti Global car that made it up into the top 12 in qualifying. He's starting 11th. And another thing, Diff, is just another year of experience. You know, another 450-ish miles under his belt. He didn't make the whole distance, as you saw, but those are super, super valuable miles and laps for a young driver. And yeah, this team is definitely performing at a very high level right now.
Yes.
I was doing Graham Rahal's charity golf outing yesterday, and you guys in the booth were talking about the drivers having a little bit more trouble here this year. And he was, you know, cool, calm, and comfortable. I'm not sure he'll maybe feel the same right now, but he mentioned that the left side tires are harder this year. And so, you know, you're talking about these spins people are having. He said you'd get down on the rumble strip just a little bit. And as you can see, the cars go around, they're very low. If you get just a little bit too low, you catch that rumble strip and it sends the car. So that's probably also part of the reason why the cars are struggling a little bit more to get the balance right, because there's just less grip coming from those left side tires.
Less grip, and as you say, that stiffer construction just makes that contact with the curb, which is raised slightly from the asphalt, can just make that a little bit more jarring and upset the balance of the car.
I can't remember a time that contact with the rumble strip was favorable.
It was never great, but it was often savable. We did see Joseph have a huge save in 2 earlier in the month.
I had one, and it was like, it shouldn't have been savable. I mean, it's been so violent through the years. I think back, I remember Thomas Scheckter had a big one. Who else through the years? Oliver Askew over there in turn 4. There's been some really big hits and massive moments. Looks like Kyle Larson peeling off. Here comes Callum Ilott, I believe, in the 6, looking pretty aggressive there on Catherine Legge into turn 1.
Catherine's done 37 laps so far in this carb day session. That's super valuable. Ilott in the Arrow McLaren Chevy, the NTT car right there, the papaya in blue. He's pumped out 43 laps. Ericsson goes by Legge. Everybody trying to just squeeze what they need to out of this final session. Next time we see cars on track, it's race day for the 108th Indy 500. What you got, Dave?
Lee wanted to bring a recent conversation with Marcus Ericsson and crew.
Bob, how does it look up from where you're standing? I feel like I'm pretty good in 2 and 4.
We look great off of 2. That's our best corner. 4 is not bad. We're not pulling up, but we are gapping behind. Nobody's going to pass us.
Great off of 2, okay off of 4, and not bad on the speed charts in single lap times. 6th, 5-lap averages. 3rd, 10-lap averages. 8th, so good speed for Marcus Ericsson, Dylan.
Dave, Scott Dixon is at the top of the board right now, but has only run 29 laps. That's near the bottom of the total lap count of everybody else in the field. But Hinch and Townsend, I'm interested in your opinion on this. Scott has just kind of gone out here and done 4 or 5 runs of maybe 3-4 laps apiece, and hasn't really been a ton, making long runs in traffic or in packs. So, 1, what can you learn in just a couple of laps? And 2, maybe for somebody like Scott Dixon, how quickly can he learn just with his experience here of what he needs from the race car just in those runs?
Well, I think Scott Dixon is clearly not happy with something balance-wise, so he's going to use pit lane as his friend. You know, he's done, what, 21 races here prior, so he's got a ton of experience. Scott Dixon doesn't need to learn how to drive in traffic. He doesn't need to learn what the controls do. He doesn't need to learn how to time passes. What Scott Dixon is doing, I'm sure, is refining the setup to the race car and taking advantage of iterations. The more time Scott is on pit lane with his engineers, the better he will make his race car until he is absolutely satisfied that they've exhausted every option.
Oh, what a great shot. What a great shot to highlight the speed here.
These are always the best shots to really appreciate velocity, James. I mean, the pure distance you're covering per second here with the helicopter.
I mean, it truly does look like fighter jets flying in formation.
Well, this is, and I think also a great example of, well, how do they do 500 miles in 2.5 hours?
Right.
This is how.
That's how. By going really, really fast.
By going airplane fast.
One of the more graphic things earlier in this month of May was Pietro Fittipaldi going into turn 3, and he was probably doing 150 miles an hour, crazy fast anyway, and Connor Daly went by him into turn 3 doing about 200 plus miles an hour, and that was just a graphic reminder. There's another one right there. It just the colossal speed that they are doing into the turns here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Here's an example. Here's the Pietro Fittipaldi Connor Daly example. Check this out. Man, it looks like Pietro's doing about 60 miles an hour. He's not.
That was a dicey situation. I don't think Pietro knew Connor was coming. Connor was on a qual sim, and it makes for very close quarters and anxious moments for both drivers and race teams, certainly at those speeds.
Kind of in the middle of this pack right now is Augustine Canapino. I want to give some shout outs to. He's running 7th on the speed charts right now. He's had a very impressive and slightly understated month so far. He had one of the plenum events in his qualifying run that we saw on a few of the different competitors on a run that would have put him into the top 12, which for Hunkelshollander Racing to have a car running up in the top 12 in qualifying trim, massively impressive. And this driver looking to start only his 2nd Indy 500. He's looking comfortable in traffic, getting a toe lap like that. Again, all these laps are based on the toe that you're in. But Townsend, you know, when you have a car that's comfortable enough to keep your foot in it in that dirty air, that's where those big times come from. So no, it might not be the greatest indicator of single lap speed on your own, but it's showing there's a quiet confidence behind the wheel of the Argentinian's car.
I mean, you could throw a blanket over 25 cars right now that seem pretty equivalent mid-pack, right? So what does that translate to in the race? Increased urgency for track position on green flag pit stops, in laps, out laps, on time on pit lane, and then with a yellow flag stop, you know, just all kinds of drama probably on pit lane as teams fight for every little advantage.
Hinch and T-Bell, since it seems like it's open mic night, we can ask you a question. I want to ask you about Elio. Elio's won this race 4 times. He's led a lap in 14 Indy 500s, yet as we look right now, he's run 59 laps, 8 more than everyone else. And I know he stepped away full-time from the sport, and it's time behind the wheel and time in the car. But why is he out here more than anyone at this point? Is it just getting re-familiar with everything with this car and being back behind the wheel for the first time in some time?
Probably because he's just a part-time driver, Mike, and he loves this place and every lap is special. No, I think Elio, a little different story to Scott Dixon. Elio is focused on experimentation, I think, right now. He's playing with all the tools in the arsenal, in the cockpit, running at the back, running at the front, probably on used tires. And also, because he's not racing full-time, I think the more time spent on track, the more comfortable Elio's going to get against the full-time competitors that, unlikely, Dave, he's going to have to beat to be the first 5-time winner.
And Townsend, this may help the conversation a little bit too. When I talked to him yesterday, I asked him if he got that feel in his race car that he had on any of his 4 wins, and some of them were dominant. He said, no, not yet, but the balance I can affect, that has been better. He said it's the pace that we're lacking just a little bit, but you can see today he's number 2 on the board, so he's caught the toe, and at the right times that 06 can be fast.
Look at that left hand, James, how relaxed it is on the straightaway. That's the guy that has more experience in this race than anybody. You go on board with a rookie, it's like, you know, almost a death grip on the steering wheel. Elio's left, right hands there, catching a break, making some adjustments. Veteran, hands behind the wheel, Diff.
And T-Bell, talking of veterans, let's go from a 4-time Indy 500 winner to a 2-time Indy 500 winner. And both guys are ageless. From Helio Castroneves to Japan's superstar Takuma Sato. Taku is back in the Armada Honda and back with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. This is a 3rd visit to that team. He's glad to be back to see some familiar faces. And at 47, Taku has been doing some reflecting. He said, this is my 15th time at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm here to win. I believe I can win. And he said, you know, one of the greatest accomplishments in my career was standing on a Formula One podium with Michael Schumacher. But he said, I don't take for granted racing here at Indianapolis. I love Indy. And as a 2-time winner, he wants to be a 3-time winner because this place is so special. And experiencing the Speedway INDYCAR style is Cliff Daniels from Hendrick Motorsports. He's with Marty.
Yeah, we mentioned the entire 5 team. Normally, the day job for Kyle Larson is here. Cliff Daniels included in that group. So you've been watching all of this from afar at Cup Series tracks. What's it like to be here in person, Cliff?
Well, it's really special. And, you know, first, thank you to Mr. Hendrick and everyone at Arrow McLaren just for giving us the opportunity to come experience this world. You know, our team is a team of racers, and they have a lot of passion for it. And to be able to be here and experience what we are today, you know, it's really special. And Kyle's obviously done a great job. Hats off to this team. They've done an amazing job. You know, with a little bit of a slow start to the week and getting behind, they rebounded, had an amazing qualifying effort. And, you know, just to see Kyle almost be so natural in this environment, it's been a lot of fun to be a part of. The team is communicating great. You know, they're executing a really good day today, too, to get them ready for Sunday. So it's been a lot of fun to be a part of.
How has your driver impressed you this month? You and I were texting during qualifying, and your word was, wow, so impressive, right? But how has he impressed you as a driver?
Well, I think we all knew, you know, his natural talent, his natural ability is of course, there. And couple that with a lot of really good, you know, folks around him, Brian Campy, Tony Kanaan, a lot of the folks that have been helping him out, coach him. I know his 2 teammates at Arrow McLaren have been helping him a lot as well. You know, that environment and just putting all those resources and people together to help him, he's been soaking it up like a sponge. And he's been, you know, adaptive and reactive and learning the whole time. and he's communicated a lot of that with me, where it's been fun to be a part of. There's new things he's learning, and different lingo, different ways to talk about his approach and strategy that he enjoys so much, and he's such a racing purist that getting in and kind of grinding out the week and the strategy and the practice and all of that, it's right up his alley, and he's been doing a great job with it.
All right, enjoy the rest of the day being a fan.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be here for the day. We'll be here for the Pit Crew Challenge later. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
There you go, Cliff Daniels hanging out. Danica, you've driven Cup cars. You've driven in the Indy 500. What's impressed you most about Kyle Larson so far this month?
Thanks, Marty. That was great with Cliff, and I love to see him here. I mean, just the fact that he's been so fast so consistently. But, I was just thinking to myself as I'm watching him down in the pit stand, he's able to translate the language from not only NASCAR to IndyCar, but also just driver to an engine, him as a crew chief to another engineer. We call them different things in IndyCar and NASCAR, but they're essentially the same. So when Kyle's describing the car, Cliff is able to really translate that and try and help the scenario even more. But of course, then there's the language, which in NASCAR it's called tight and loose, and in IndyCar it's called oversteer, understeer. So there's a lot of words that are just different, but I just think it's great that he can do that. And finally, I think just to have somebody that's been on his side the whole time and someone that's going to go through the whole process with him so he can really stay on the same page, have some familiarity, and also have some sympathy for just how much work this is.
And you saw a pretty intense conversation going on there between Kyle Larson, Brian Campy, and Tony Kanaan. From all of us, there's TK, IndyCar champ, Indy 500 winner, an all-round legend of the sport. Congrats to TK and also Juan Pablo Montoya for being inducted into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame last night. Well done. Group round of applause.
And speaking of the museum, if you've ever had a chance to visit the museum here, it's under a comprehensive reimagination right now. And I had a chance the other night at a dinner with the Museum Chairman's Club to see the animations, the walkthroughs of what is going to take place once it's finished, and it's absolutely spectacular what they're doing in rethinking, rebuilding the museum to be even better. That'll be really exciting. They expect that to reopen sometime in 2025.
Yeah, a lot more involved, a lot more interactive. It's modernizing, it's an incredible collection of IndyCar history, and I'm excited. I've seen those plans.
Oh, someone just got loose. Was that Award there coming off turn 2? Back of the car started to slide out a little bit. See, Pato comes to pit lane as he gets passed on the inside there.
Christian Rasmussen, one of the rookies.
Sorry, James, that was the first time we've seen any drama.
Let's see if he's coming to pit lane.
No big deal for Pato. Just another day.
Take you back and show you what happened to the number 5 Arrow McLaren Chevy. Have a listen.
That's a common thing here. You heard him pedaling the throttle, hit a bunch of understeer. Then once you get up to the exit of the racetrack, the banking starts to fall away. The front sometimes grips up, and you get that little wiggle really late in the corner. It's one that it doesn't feel good, Townsend, but as you know, it's not one you're going to panic about and head into the pits.
Yeah,
for.
it's also the mid-corner adjustment, bleeding off the speed. Car kind of rises up out of its set, and you really never get that compression again and get the springs loaded as you're coming off the corner. So it's almost like dynamic ride height is just up because you got out of the mid-corner load in order to make your throttle adjustment.
And if any of you are saying it didn't look like that big a deal, just remember at that point he was probably doing 219 miles an hour.
Still looks pretty dicey there for Pato Award.
Yeah, for that far back from the car in front, he's battling a lot of understeer in that car right now.
Done 48 laps in total. We don't know where he sits in terms of tire life, number of laps on those Firestones.
But guys, I know this is group running, and I know you look at the lineup on the pylon based on speed, in a draft. But one of the other things that's important is that non-tow time, because when you're leading out front, how fast you can go while leading the pack is very important. And right now, it's Will Power at a 219.4. So strong results from the Penske, a driver that wishes they were out there right now. Still Santino Ferrucci, and Kevin knows a little bit more about what's happening with the 14.
He's there.
Yeah, he's done about 3 or 4 laps. He's picked up about 3 miles per hour. I saw Larry Foyt when he came back to the stand. You know, these cars are basically torn down and rebuilt, so they just wanted to kind of verify some things. They think they found something small, so let's see if we can get him comfortable. Santino has said nothing on the radio since he's been back out for the last 4 laps. We'll keep monitoring that, Dave.
Kevin, we know that these drivers work on adjusting the race car in the cockpit at speed, but those tools have to work. And as we listened in on Connor Daly and what was going on with his 24 car, he had this to report.
Weight jacker is not working. Set the jacker, reset the weight jacker again. I've tried like 4 times, dude.
All right, Townsend and Hinch, what's it worth to have the weight jacker? And then how do you reset it? And is it futile to try after 4 times?
Well, look, the weight jacker is one of 2 major tools that the drivers have at their disposal inside the cockpit to adjust the handling, and it is massively vital to have that operating. The reset function is something that they build into these cars for after a pit stop. You know, you've been driving around in dirty air on old tires. The balance is one thing. It's going to be something different on new tires. So there's a way to reset it. Usually it's holding down both the left and right weight jacker buttons at the same time can reset it to a predetermined position. If it's not worked after 4 times, T-Bell, I don't think it's working on track. You're going to have to go in and get that looked at.
Yeah, you see Graham Rahal on board there, the United Rentals car, making an adjustment. But let's talk about the weight jacker, Diff. We got a new toy in the toy box.
Uh-oh.
Hinch and I were on AutoCAD all week and going back and forth, Zoom calls. And this is the weight jacker on the right rear damper, controlled on the steering wheel. You can go plus or minus in terms of the settings. And what does it do? Starts to effectively add spring preload to the right rear, cross weights the race car. And really what you're manipulating in terms of how you visualize this is left or right front corner weight. The more weight you move to the left front corner, the more grip that left front tire should have. What does it do to the race car? It helps it complete the corner, helps it turn mid-corner. James, well done. Well done.
I think it was a great team effort. Heads up to everybody in the graphics department that got that built for us. We see a lot of people ask about the weight jacker.
Just to be clear, all you and I did was just click on a Dropbox link and say
yeah, thumbs up.
That was pretty cool.
Looks great.
There was a whole team in England working on that stuff, but that's what's behind it. So electronic controls of a mechanical device, and if it's not working, you lose huge adjustment. As Alex Palou had a late look.
Late lunge there on Will Power. Will's just absolutely shutting the door, but that's the kind of racing we're going to see. It's great that we're now at this stage of the month where everybody's racing like you're going to on Sunday.
So much for Will Power saying don't really want to do much on carb day. He's already pushed out 52 laps. Who else has been working hard at it? Elio Castroneves at 69 laps. Canapino at 62. Here's Takuma Sato from way back locked up, coming into pit road.
Shades of Pocono many years ago.
Woo. Narrowly avoided. Connor Daly as well in the polka dot car.
Why was he steering towards pit lane? I know he was locked up, but would have been probably safer to get off the pedal and keep those front tires rolling. As we understand, Takuma Sato will get a drive-through penalty for.
He might not have realized that Connor was that first pit box, and so was expecting the driver to transition to the fast lane and thought that was his opening there in the middle lane.
But inside is where the people are.
Yep. Not saying that's what I would have done. I'm just saying that's maybe what led him to do what he did.
Imagine being Connor Daly's pit crew there, you know, looking at Sato. That's what's sketchy is, you know, 33 pit stalls, and that Dry Reinbold crew is the last one on pit lane, and it is it'll get your attention even if you're behind the wall. But Sato doing a good job to at least stay out of trouble. There's the pit crew, Dry Reinbold with Cusick Motorsports, and they are the last ones on pit lane, but the first ones to see the excitement coming their way as another car peels in. That's Pietro Fittipaldi.
Kiffin Simpson, car 4. The yellow and blue machine popped down, and Rasmussen, these are 2 rookies working at it here. Rasmussen was not having anything of that.
Rasmussen's been one of the more aggressive drivers. He's been a tough cookie. He's been hanging out on the outside.
The most in terms of doing this, running too wide. Looks like he'll have the position as he gets to the point, but in practice, yeah, he got everybody's attention with some side-by-side action. It's awesome, but late in the race, that's where we start to get concerned, Hinch, with the marbles and the tire dust that builds up offline. We'll hope the rookie doesn't get caught out.
There's Felix Rosenquist in the pink, white and blue car of Meyer Shank Racing. His teammate Tom Blomqvist has done well today. 56 laps, he's top 5 on the speed chart at the moment, and it's Tom Blomqvist's first Indianapolis 500 as well. He's one of the 6 rookies that will start Sunday's 108th Indy 500. There's the workload on your screen graphically, who's done how many laps, and they're working through their respective work programs in this final hit out. Don't forget, later this afternoon, pit stop competition coming up on Carb Day, where the atmosphere is a little more fun because it's a little more lighthearted. Great atmosphere, concerts, pit stop comp, last practice, and a beautiful Indiana day like today.
It's just a great day. Just a great day at the racetrack.
You love Carb Day.
I love Carb Day.
Well, you're going to be out there for the pit stop competition, right? I mean, really with the people, getting the vibe. And the question is, what's Marty Snyder going to throw on later? He tends to get up into the grandstands and start feeling the vibe.
I love that. I've seen a couple things at the merch tent, the gift shop here at the Speedway, that I think would be quite appropriate. I'm not sure if Marty's picked his outfit out yet.
You never know. He could have hit the thrift shop earlier today.
Hey-yo.
It's Dave Burns. Dave?
The fastest car today for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan is Pietro Fittipaldi. One of the drivers who's really struggling with that group is the 45 of Christian Lundgaard. He sits on pit road now after this radio transmission.
But dude, I am so far away from Monday. It's crazy. Yep, copy. Want to work it out.
Checked with the team a little bit earlier. Balance, balance, balance. It was just not comfortable to drive out there. And they've got to change this week. Peter Barron is no longer the strategist on this team for the 500. That is a very recent change. Ben Siegel, race engineer, will now be the voice in the ear of Christian Lundgaard. That's not new. He has helped Christian in his earpiece many times in the past. But to change that this week, guys, that's kind of sudden.
Yeah, super sudden. And, you know, it was effectively Peter Barron walking away on Monday. And nobody expected that. Certainly not the driver, James. And you know, you talk about chemistry on pit lane. When you think you have it and it falls apart in the middle of the event, that's a blow to the confidence and to the team dynamics. No way you slice it. That's an unexpected surprise and probably not one that Christian Lundgaard wanted to see.
No, not a welcome change at this stage of the Indy 500 preparations. You know, we talk a lot about INDYCAR and motorsports being a team sport, and two of those most important relationships are driver race engineer and driver strategist when you're going into the longest, most strategy-heavy event of the season. So, interesting issue that Lundgaard has to deal with, on top of apparently his car not feeling anything like it did on Monday, and that could be a function of, even still as the track's heating up, 15 degrees lower on track temp. That can make monumental differences to setups. And that's where the truly great teams and drivers shine, is when they have a setup window that works across multiple different conditions.
Tell you what, a few cars back behind Will Power and the Bryson Chevy is Colton Herter in that Gainbridge Honda. It would be a very popular victory if the 24-year-old Californian won. His dad, Brian, who is the strategist for teammate Kyle Kirkwood, competed in 6 Indy 500s and won as a team owner, Mike. But this young man is the future face of INDYCAR, and if he won, that would be big in the popularity stakes.
Did you say face, Lee?
I did.
Faces often show up on that trophy to the left. Of course, the Borg Warner Trophy and the facial images of the winners of the 500 over the year. And look what's showing the Borg Warner on pit lane. It's the Larry O'Brien Trophy that goes to the NBA champion, Danica. I've covered both sports here a lot and often say there's nothing like racing in Indiana. And I've also said there's nothing like basketball in Indiana. And the twain shall meet this weekend, as the Pacers will host games 3 and 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals on either side of the 500, Saturday and Monday, with the race on Sunday.
It's a lot of sports going on. Indiana should be very excited right now. The Borg Warner is just such an iconic trophy. You know, if you zoom in, yes, you do see the faces, and you as a driver are always thinking, what would it look like if my face was on there? it's just so special, and you get your own baby board when you win the race. But I'm curious, Mike, you've been around so many different sports and seen these big trophies, probably touched so many of these big trophies. I'm curious what you see as a common denominator with the sort of pomp and circumstance and the care that goes into one of these very important trophies.
I think it's the look on the face of the athletes, no matter what the sport, when they win that trophy that they've dreamed about or talked about. And for the winners here, to see their image on that board, this one's a little bit different because it's you. And people see your face, your smile, your look for generations to come. And you can sit there and stare at it, and it almost, in many ways, speaks to you. The living history of this great event right there on that trophy. So someone will perhaps add their image to that trophy. And who knows if that NBA Finals trophy will end up back here in downtown Indianapolis. Pacers have work to do. They have to win 4 of the last 5 to beat the Celtics in the Eastern Finals. But if there are a laps lead, there's always hope. And the checkered flag is not falling on the Pacers just yet. Game 3 tomorrow night downtown here in Indianapolis.
And Mike, just to go back to the Borg Warner Trophy real quick. You may remember that Borg Warner for more than 20 years now has been offering a $20,000 per year bonus for somebody, one driver, to go back-to-back. Well, nobody's gone back-to-back since Helio Castroneves 22 years ago. So do your quick math. There's $440,000 on the line for Joseph Newgarden if he can defend his Indianapolis 500 win from a year ago.
Got a great shot as you see his teammate Scott McLaughlin in that iconic yellow submarine, the Pennzoil car, even wearing the Rick Mears throwback fire suit design. Hands tell me so much when we ride on these onboards. How confident, how happy is the racing driver? Let's just ride with the pole sitter. He doesn't stay up front, he'll have to contend with this kind of turbulent air.
We watched McLaughlin peel into pit lane. Scott having a productive day so far, 65 laps turned, but we go down to the least laps turned so far. A little worrying. One of the rookies, Linus Lundqvist, Chip Ganassi Racing, car number 8's only turned 8 laps, just clocked his 9th. So clearly some sort of issue there on the Ganassi car. This is one of those drivers that really needed this track time.
Did they have a situation like Santino Ferrucci where they went out and things didn't feel right?
He's already indicating he's going to be coming back into pit lane. But you mentioned Ferrucci. Kev, what else do you know about the 14?
So the 14 is headed back to the garage again. The Homes for Troops Chevrolet with A.J. Foyt still is not where they wanted. They got quicker, about 5 miles per hour quicker, but Santino said the front end just took off on me, and it's only getting worse. I just checked in with Larry Foyt. He said it's better. They made progress, but there's still one more thing we want to try, so they're still going to try to get back out. Yeah. Marty.
Kevin, just over 40 minutes left to get your car right for the Indianapolis 500. You know, earlier the booth guys were saying they felt like Alexander Rossi had the best of the Arrow McLaren cars. But Hinch, we heard that radio transmission earlier from Rossi saying the car would not pull up. You and I have both spent a lot of time with Alexander Rossi so far this month. And the one thing, Hinch, I think that he's hung his hat on is that they've had to make almost literally no changes to the 7 car. Cool conditions, warm conditions. It's been the same quick car, and that is not the case so far in this carb day practice. So number one, what could be going on? And number two, how do they get it right in 40 minutes?
I'll tell you what's going on. Indianapolis is going on. That's just the kind of thing that happens here. These are the kind of curveballs that this event throws at you. And yeah, I spoke to Alex yesterday. He said, we've tried a lot of things throughout the month. We are one setup change away from the baseline setup that we rolled up here with for very first day of practice. That's how good they were off the truck and how confident he's been in the setup they've got. So, yes, how do you fix it in 40 minutes? I don't think you do. It's so easy to overcomplicate and overthink these things. If I'm that team, I'm going to look very deep into what's happened today. But if the default has been that baseline setup plus or minus one change, I think you have to have the confidence to go into the race saying, hey, look, in almost every other day on track, every other condition, qualifying trim, race trim, whatever, this has been our happy car. Let's put that on and see how we go.
Vince, let me throw this.
Now, JT. And welcome to everybody watching on JB Motorsports across Twitch and YouTube. We've taken over thanks to JT and the world feed for bringing us that one. So we're underway for the final part of this session. It is the final practice. 40 minutes to go in the action out here on the circuit. Alongside me in the commentary box is Josh T. Checo's here too. Omi and Jess are rolling around as well. And already, JT, we have seen so much action in this opening session. Cars going 4 wide in the practicing.
Yeah, absolutely as well. And 3 wide, 2 rows deep happened as well. 53 laps for Scott Dixon, 86 for Castro Neves as well. 68 for a couple of others as well. 74, 76 something in there as well. Only 9 laps for Linus Lundqvist though.
That's how we like it. And Checo, welcome up to the commentary box as well for this session. How have you been enjoying it over the past hour as well as we take a look at 2 years ago on Carb Day when Herta crashed as well? What do you love about the Indy 500?
It's just the greatest spectacle there is in racing. It's the speeds that they are doing is enough to watch for the whole race distance, and then they put up a great show as always, which I'm sure they will do this year as well, so can't get better than this.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for it as well. Let me just join the Ninja again on the Comcam so everyone can see me as well. 39 minutes to go. So, yeah, we get to come in for the last 40 minutes or so and have all the fun on Carb Day. I keep an eye on things. Here's Colton Herta, 4th at the moment, 226.220 mile an hour. I must say my voice feeling a lot better, but a bit worse for wear than what it was because we've done so much. To be honest with you, I think we've all done about equal. Hello, Emma, as I'm back in the Ninja. If anything, Josh T, you're the one who's behind today. This is only your 2nd session. Catch up.
Wow.
So, do you fancy doing all of the touring cars?
I do fancy doing all of the touring cars, and also I can give you all of my exam revision if you want as well.
No, thanks for that. I've dealt with that stress years ago. Who the hell played that?
Me.
Oh, thanks, Jess.
Sorry.
Frightened the life out of me.
Well, not just you.
Love that angle as well. Jess likes. Jess, we've got the soundboards as well. Check out if you didn't know about that. I get played every now and then.
Yeah, we don't usually play on the broadcast, but I just found the perfect moment when Josh said, "Wow."
It's all right. I only realised during the broadcast today that every time the Charles Leclerc kept going off at turn 1, I was going Leclerc like that meme. I didn't realise I was doing it until afterwards. So that's
force of habit, Josh.
It's force of habit. It is force of habit. That's been checked off the list not to do that again.
You'll probably end up doing it without noticing again, Josh.
Yeah, and Megan will just look at me in the commentary box going like, what did you just do? Across the outer bricks.
Used to this picture, Kyle Larson had the conduct to do it.
Do you reckon he could do it, Checo? Do you reckon Larson could win it?
I reckon he has it in him. He's a quick driver, especially around ovals. But judging by the luck he has in NASCAR Impact Racing, I think he will find his way into a wreck at some point. That isn't his own fault.
That's true.
Or the engine will blow, or just his super speedway luck coming into it again.
Yeah.
Go on.
And also, just going on to the 17 team of Kyle Larson. Rick Hendrick has done something for the team. He has organised a plane, and 18 people from Hendrick Motorsports number 5 team is there at the track today.
Oh.
And all of the road crew, pit crew, and even some of the shop personnel are there at the pit boxed as well, watching on. Cliff Daniels is on Larson's radio as well here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Carb Day.
That is special. That is very special. Hello, Synthel. How's your teeth, Synth, coming into it as well? I hope you're feeling better. Omi's just flashed up a board up on the com cam on the Video Ninja saying that you scared me because I had flashbacks last year of Alex Jake saying Leclerc. Charles Leclerc. Well, if you will keep putting in the barrier several times, I'm going to keep having a heart attack coming into it as well. So 33 running out there as well. Trying to work out how many is in the actual track right now. It's quite hard to tell on the timing screen. All 33 names alongside us here, all set to go, as Checo said, for the greatest spectacle in racing. This is the final practice session. So after this, there's no running on Saturdays, everything running on Sundays. Currently, there is a lot of rain forecast on Sunday, so if we have to push the race till Monday, we'll still be covering it. And Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday, and that's the latest it can go. Because after that, we've got Detroit. That would be funny if they had to put Detroit as a Sunday, Monday race. It's going to get more and more confusing. Do you know, I don't know where we are for NASCAR, you know. I don't know who's covering what. I know we're doing the 600, but next week I haven't got a fucking clue. What have we got? Maybe...
You're going to make me look, aren't you?
Why am I... Obi's making me wave. Yeah. There's
Hold
the...
up, let me...
Oh,
JT.
Go on.
Worldwide Technology Raceway.
So that's where NASCAR will be.
The race at
yeah. Do you know the time, Checo?
The race will be at 20:30 British time.
Oh, okay. Might be alright then.
So
11 in pit, 22 on the track, says JT.
It is now 18 running, 15 pit, as it likes to randomly update, even though I literally wrote that 2 seconds ago.
How have you got that info?
In time in 71 analysis.
Oh, I don't have that open. Maybe I should. I've got 2 timing screens with the same buttons. Well, I'm looking to I'm redoing the monitors actually as well. Still a lot of action to come through. Yeah, we're redoing the commentary monitors over the next few. Changing things around again. Oh, look how close to the wall Cashton Ever's got. Trying to get ahead of Catherine Legg into turn 1. He goes through, but Legg certainly pushed him towards that wall, and Dixon's just behind. Followed then as well, I believe, by Marcus Armstrong in the number 11. Nice little run round at the moment. Rahul's back in the pits. Don't think he'll be done for the day. Look at that from Dixon though. Race speed with a toe, 227.206 mile an hour. The fastest toe speed we've seen all week, all across the last 2 weeks actually of practice. Feels weird being back here at the Brickyard because we haven't done anything since Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, done nothing. Friday, you're back in, but you've also done all the stuff for Formula 1. So it's always weird when you have to have a few days off and then come back for Carb Day. I'd still like more practice sessions, to be fair. I still think this session should have been a couple more hours longer. We lost 18 hours thanks to the rain last week. That's a lot of testing, that's no one there. Synthel says, I'm not in too much pain anymore, but still can't feel anything in my lower lip, which is extremely annoying, and I'm starting to get a fever. Oh my god. Synthel, go to sleep. Can't wait for Indy tomorrow. Looking forward to that way more than F1. Indy 500, as always, the highlight of the year, says Jess. I am excited. I love the Indy 500. I always enjoy Le Mans. I do, because it's the one time of year I lock myself in the commentary box for the entire 24 hours. Right. So, apparently, Omi
that
is...
sounds interesting.
I'll say again?
That sounds quite interesting.
Oh yeah, I do the whole 24 hours. And then everybody joins at random parts. If you want to come in for a segment, we always need the help. We never deny anybody at Le Mans.
I'll certainly try.
Carpenter as well swings around the outside of Catherine Legg.
Oh, 100 laps soon for Castroneves.
Yeah, he's got a chance to make it 5 wins in Indy 500 history, and that's a new record for anyone. Newgarden's leading McLaughlin, who's our pole sitter. And then the 8 car just behind, excuse me, Linus Lundqvist just behind. Yeah, I'm still not 100%, so I'm still coughing every now and then. And sometimes it's a cough I can't control, so it's because of the voice, it just goes. Oh, love that. As we see now as well, Lundqvist had a go on down towards the first corner, trying to get ahead of McLaughlin. What have you got, JT? Oh, hello. No, that's true. Comcam is getting ridiculous there. 100 laps on carb day? That's kind of crazy. He's getting frequent driver miles. Probably is. Catherine Legg's getting
make sure that these carburetors are tuned in. Luckily, they haven't been running carburetors on IndyCar since the 60s. But the name is still there.
Carb day. Nowadays.
It was traditionally the day where they tried to figure out their carburetors for the car.
Yeah. Nowadays, it just sort of, they put on the full fuel load, don't they? So they put a fuel stint in, so it's like adding carbs, which I don't like. I much prefer, I'm sure Checker you might agree, the original meaning when you put the carburetors on for the first time and then go for it and tune them up. And now they just fuel, a full fuel load doesn't really mean much anymore. Larson coming in, changing 4 tyres, a lot of fuel. Look, this is the fuel going in. So, as Checo said, the original carb day meaning was the carburetor being put on as untuned for the final day, but now it means adding full race fuel, filling up the tank and heading out there and see what kind of race speed you've got. Except one person. Oh, Omi, your favourite person is down on pit road. We're going to hand over to.
If you try and find somewhere maybe around your teammates, or you look at the statistical history of where the best pit boxes have been for results, but then you have the pit stop itself, and you're hard locked to the left and back into your pit box, and if people are in their stalls in front or behind you, that can make it difficult. But then Kyle's going to be dealing with a difference between what it feels like to when he's supposed to go in a stock car versus when he's supposed to go in an Indy car. And in a stock car, as soon as they drop it, you go. So it's a very clear indication. But when you're here in an Indy car, sometimes you might have to wait. And so you've just got to get that timing right. Of course, in a stock car, too, you have gas, brake, clutch. And in an Indy car, you know, you have your clutch up on your hand. And so there's a lot of things that are quite different about an Indy car, so it's just a matter of timing it all right to get that perfect exit. But I can say one thing that's nice, though, is that there's a pit speed limiter in an Indy car. In a stock car, he's not going to have to deal with looking down to make sure he's at the right speed, the right revs that he can adjust with, of course, his right foot. He can just keep it matted, and in fact, that is the best way to just keep it matted on the pit limiter, so he can be very closely looking at where his pit stall is. So lots of different changes for Kyle. This is going to be a super challenging thing for him, these pit stops, but I have a feeling he'll rise to the occasion. Marty?
Right, I'm going to say this once and for all. I do not get why Danica always tries to link things to the 2 series that she was in, considering that she was so bad at NASCAR. Like, she was so bad, she's actually the worst driver in NASCAR's history. And that's going by some.
No.
But honestly, if you look at the stat records and everything and combined, yes. But in IndyCar, she was really good. She was decent in IndyCar. She won that race at Japan. She was great under the running order. She was fantastic leading at the Indy 500 as well. And honestly, Danica is great in IndyCar. So she's just leaning to the IndyCar stats more than trying to balance the two. It doesn't work. Really annoys me. And also, don't know why she's ever on Formula 1. This is why we have Jess. Because Jess, A, amazing commentator. B, amazing presenter. C, esport racer with Formula 1 cars. Knows what she's talking about when we get to it. Omi's holding up a board saying Nazani over Danica.
Thank you, Josh, for those kind words, by the way. Much appreciated.
Well, I mean it. It's like, I wouldn't put Danica on the show because she knows nothing about Formula 1. You do. You've done the racing. You're part of the Red Bull Esports Academy. You know what you're talking about. And it's like...
I've still got one more race on F1 23 on Tuesday.
Yeah, you see? It's like, you know what you're on about. Whereas, I wouldn't say get somebody in who doesn't know what they're talking about, which is what Sky do with Danica. Because Danica's never done Formula 1. She's never driven a Formula 1 car.
She was not that bad last year in the Indy 500. She was pretty good.
That's what I mean. She's great at Indianapolis coverage, but she needs to focus on the INDYCAR coverage and stop dragging everything to stock car racing, because it was dismal in stock car.
I agree.
It really frustrates me. It's like, it just really does, because Danica's good at punditry in INDYCAR. Well, as soon as she goes to NASCAR or Formula 1 or anything else, it doesn't work. It never does. It's like when Susie Perry went over to Formula 1, it didn't work. Susie even herself said, I much prefer the bikes. And she's brilliant on the motorcycles. Now she's hosting TNT. Sometimes you can't cross over. Hypocritical of me to do 15 different type of series, but it's hypocritical, I know, but what I'm saying is that with me, I'm just as passionate.
Josh, you know everything.
Exactly.
You know everything.
Yeah.
So that's Tom anyway in being interviewed.
Well, I'm glad you said that as well. Because I wouldn't have. Here's Blomqvist.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is pretty intense. It's a pretty intense week, but this is my first ever oval race. So every lap I do, every session I do, I feel more and more comfortable, more and more confident in the car. I understand more about what I need from it, and how the different the scenarios change when you're out there, right? So every lap I'm doing and every run and stuff, just feeling better and better. And I feel pretty good out there. So we stopped kind of with a few minutes, 20 minutes ago. One thing I've learned from Elio is if it feels good, you don't need to keep batting around, right? So, we feel good. We're happy where we're at. I'm ready to go racing, I guess.
Townsend has a question upstairs. I'll relay to you. Go ahead, Townsend.
Yeah, Dylan, it's great the race car is good. The question is, did he straighten his driver out after last night? I golfed with Tom for a bit at the indoor simulator.
So Townsend golfed with you last night, and he said that, or asked if you straightened your driver out.
No, man.
Time to practice.
It's pretty ironic, but I'm not a very good driver. So, that was terrible. So, but I mean, it was good. And he gave me a couple of tips as well, which is always nice. So, I'm trying to soak up as much information from as many people as possible.
How's Townsend's golf game? Is it any good?
I mean, I don't think he has much to comment on either, to be honest.
Shots fired, Townsend.
Oh, Dylan, Diffie.
Right. Shots fired at Townsend Bell. Did somebody answer my dreams? What's going on in the commentary box camera? Oh, well, I've lost my co-commentator for this one. That's not great as well. Pit reporters, you'll have to help up there.
I mean, I did just show that to the broadcast. So there you go.
I hope he loves Danica.
Oh, wow, Josh T. Wow.
Getting busy out there with cars circulating together. It's proper pack racing.
It is indeed getting busy.
There's Canapino.
Which means whiteboard goes goodbye.
We've been on air for 20 minutes. Are we not getting this? This year with the reduced Indy 500 track time, the drivers are fighting back because they're getting paid by mile per hour. They are indeed, yeah. Just a reminder, by the way, even though it was announced that Sky Sports F1 would be showing the whole Indy 500 live and free on their YouTube channel, they are not. INDYCAR stopped them. They're only showing their pre-race show. They are not showing the race. So once again, for all your watch-along antics, you can join us here to watch along the Indy 500. So thank you very much for Sky for not stealing the biggest race of the year from us. Let's hear from Willpower.
It's very similar to Monday, which is very nice. Yeah, I think a lot of good cars out there, to be honest. Like when you're running at the front, everyone seems about the same speed. Yeah.
Are there more good cars this year than we've had in the last few years?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think everyone just keeps improving on this package. So, yeah, it'll be about executing, no mistakes, and trying to be in the top two.
A lot of good cars. Sounds like it's a pretty good advantage to be starting in the top two, Marty, like Willpower is.
Yeah, Kevin, we mentioned Kyle Larson practicing all these pit stops. This was just a moment ago. They could not get the left front on there, their driver's side front. They actually had to stop Kyle Larson, who went just a little bit long past his marks. They dropped the jack. They were not ready. They had to stop right there. So, Hinch, these just pit stops for Kyle Larson. They'll do one more. Very critical right now, learning a lot of information.
Look, they're critical when they're going right, but they're also critical to get wrong in a practice session.
And that's what we've been seeing all week as well. People, when they actually start to doing the pit stop practice as well, they make mistakes. They struggle with it. They just one small error as well, and it costs them big time. I mean, look at what we saw in practice as well with Rahal having trouble, and then we saw another spin for Alex Blow on pit road. So yeah, Larson's coming back down pit road. So just works continuing to practice it, and this is a replay of the tyres coming in and over. And yeah, well, it's the same McLaren team. So, oh look, they released him and the gun wasn't on. So it's the same McLaren team as always, JT. So I don't know why they're having these issues. Larson comes in again and goes out again.
Yep, absolutely. That I believe is Yellow Submarine.
McLaughlin, yeah, it is.
Going back out on track. Linus Lundqvist, who had only completed 8 laps, is now out on track and has 37 laps on the belt. Waiting for Hilo Castroneves to pop back out. He's done 98 laps in this session. Only 2 more left. Agustin Canapino is out on track with 94. Kiffin Simpson is 94. Sorry, 92. 90 for Pietro Fittipaldi out on track. 94 for Rahal out on track as well. And 90 for Armstrong, who is in the pit lane as well, same as Callum Ilott. So a lot of people could get 100 laps completed, 250 miles in 2 hours, which is quite a lot.
It is quite a lot. I didn't know if Checo was going to say anything because I heard someone on the mic. I don't know if it was you, Checo. No, all good.
Yeah, it was me, but I forgot what I wanted to say already. That's how professional I am.
It happens to us all the time. If you remember, just interrupt. It's fine. Let's go down to Colton Hertes down pit road.
Pressing people, is the car as good as we seem to think it is?
I think it's tough to say until you get around people in the race that, in practice people give a little bit more. But to be honest, in this practice, people are driving pretty crazy and running people in super deep. So it was kind of similar to how the race would be. But it always seems like out of practice, once you get into the race, everyone brings another level. So it gets a little bit more difficult to pass. That and you don't know the offsets of tire and fuel and what people are doing. But overall, I still feel really good with the car. Didn't really touch the car too much since Monday. Some small, minor things that we think would help. That were kind of inconclusive, so hopefully we can go back and see a little bit more of the data and understand that a little bit more. But I'm happy with that.
Caution!
Okay, thank you, Colton.
Caution out.
What has happened?
It's a slow Kyle Larson coming down pit road, and I assume it's a problem with a tyre.
I think they might have a loose tyre there.
Yep.
I'll check diff, but I believe they ran out of fuel. They were trying to come back in one more time, and I believe that's what's going on here.
So they've run out of fuel in the pit stop practice, and Kyle Larson is going to stop on the track, and he's brought the caution out. As you do. Let's take a look at it. So, did no fuel go in, Checo?
It looks like it. They have fueled up the car on every pit stop. How come they have no fuel?
We've opened up the radio.
Get ready here, be waiting on fuel, got a nut. Back up, stop.
that's when the wheel nut fell off of the left front. What do you think of that?
Clear out. One outside, one outside, one outside.
So that's back when the nut fell off the front left, but it's just coming down.
Slowly, a little bump there. They did indeed run out of fuel, and Townsend, you would think, how's that happen, you know? But that's what you want to do, right? You want to run it all the way to what the teams call the collector.
Right, apparently the fuel hose wasn't actually delivering fuel. So it's a proper stop. And now he has stopped. And the AMR safety crew is going to tow Larson back. Right. They threw a yellow for pit road problem? Nah. Larson's actually on the track. He's going to have to be towed back. He's on the inside line. Someone can still hit him. So they're going to tow him out. Right, let's hand over then to the world feed as all the cars are back in the pit lane until we have the restart time. 14 minutes to go. Hand over to NBC.
Pit lane. The other thing that was a big miscommunication there on that stop, Townsend, you could hear over the radio, drop the nut. Kyle did not get a launch call from the radio. Maybe the outside front tire changer, who's used to sending the car, gave a hand signal. That's what initially sent him, but that means a disconnect between the outside front and the pit stand. Those are the kind of things you have to iron out before race day.
That's with 13 minutes left in the final practice. That's it. You're done in terms of your chemistry practice. Your next chance will be the first stint on race day.
Speed and consistency on track, but procedural precision on pit road is key. Hey, they're dreaming about winning the Indy 500. That's what Marcus Ericsson did 2 years ago. He's with Dave.
And Lee, last year in position again to win the world's most famous race. This year, a bit more of a struggle for Marcus after a crash. You've rebuilt. How was today and how critical was it for you?
It was pretty good, actually. I think Monday was already a good improvement, and then I felt like today we took another step. So the car has some speed, you know, with P6 on the timing sheets. But most importantly, it feels pretty good in traffic. So I'm going to be in a lot of traffic on Sunday. So no, it felt like a good session.
A smile and a good word from an Indy 500 champion, Mike. That's always good.
Dave, thanks. Danica, you raced in this 508 times. We've been up here 5 or 6 times with this view. What have you learned about what happens here on pit lane from racing and also from watching here year after year, where something always seems to happen over our shoulders?
Well, there's so many things that the driver has to do when it comes to pitting. Even under yellow, I guess you could say, there's obviously the fuel saving situation that you're doing as much as you can possibly do for that. But if it's under green, you're working your cockpit adjustments. So you're working with the bar, the shocks, all the things that you have in the car to make the car basically a little tighter so that when you really, really push it coming into the pits, you're under control, as well as if you need to adjust your brake bias because of the hard braking that you do for pit in. Because every now and again on track, you do need the brakes. And so the balance for what you need when you stop isn't always the same as what you need on track, so sometimes you'll adjust that. And then of course you go, okay, where the heck is my pit stall? And so what I would always do is I would always find the mark on the right side, because you can't see what's going on the left because of all of the chaos, but you make a mark on the right side, call it a pylon, call it a sticker on the side, something like that, and you're focusing on that until you know you're whatever you've agreed with your team. 10 away, 5 away, 3, 2, 1, and you get that cadence down. You come into the pit stall, and then you have the chaos of the pit stop, which is so quick. They're done in 10 seconds. It's so fast, and there's a lot going on for the crew as well, because they're managing what's going on with all of the other cars, of where they're at and who they're sending you out in front of. So you want to get the car out of the pit stall as fast as humanly possible, of course, but you also don't want to crash. So what all the driver's doing is looking at the right front to get sent.
And the chaos gets multiplied when it's under yellow and you have 20 or 25 cars coming in at the same time. The dance of in and out is so difficult with people and tires and everything else. And this is a 2-lane highway. I just think about a 2-lane highway at home that you're driving at 45, 50, 55 miles per hour. And then think about everything that's out there and all of that happening. And this is your perspective coming in. It's nuts.
It's nuts. And what you're not taking into account either is that you have this slinky effect happening on pit road. So while I said just keep it flat for the pit road speed limit, diameter. Now you have people slowing down in the fast lane, pulling into their pit box, which they're not supposed to do, but they definitely do it. So there's a lot going on, and it's no wonder that there's a lot of chaos.
Slinky effect, is that a technical term?
It definitely.
Have you been staying with your sister and your nieces?
Yeah, you know, they're under 10 years old. Slinkies are so fun, and going down the steps, Slinkies are the best.
Slinky effect, Diff, back to you.
Wow.
Slinkies. Typical Slinkies. That's how it has to go, is it? Right, green light, away we go. And the cars venture out onto the circuit as well. Oh, what the hell? Why is now Omi gone green on his lens? Why is JT... I'm working with... Yeah. Anyway, right, back on.
Josh, oh no. The green isn't coming off.
No, let's go down to ice below.
Pretty comfortable today. We did big improvements to Monday's practice, so yeah,
I'm
pretty comfortable, looking forward to the race. I don't think we have everything that we need to try and go at the end with Penske's, but we'll do our best.
All right, Alex Palou. Wouldn't count him out on Sunday.
Cars go zooming by, and Josh T has damaged his second webcam. How do you feel, JT? Hello? Okay, he's now put blue on it.
Hello.
What am I missing? What's gone on? I just got back.
On the Ninja.
This is the trick.
Hold on, let me log on to Ninja. Hold on.
Josh T and Omi have been putting marker pens on their webcam lens. And now Josh T put green on it and he's damaged it. Which I told them they would, but they're 2 years old and they've broken their webcam.
Oh God.
So on the one weekend where we need cameras, they've broke theirs.
Rip.
Doing the trick of you put whiteboard marker over existing whiteboard marker and it helps keeping it off. Look.
Oh, brilliant. Right. JT has now fixed it.
Oh God, yeah, it's blurry.
But now that Jess is here, I'm going to make it red again.
No. Oh, for God's sake.
So who said I've broke mine?
Well, you were panicking and wiping it like crazy. Right. Maybe don't mess with...
Don't put marker on any webcam.
Yeah. Maybe not. Oh, I don't know. Damage the one thing we all need for broadcasting.
Julio Castaneves and Graham Rahal have reached 100 laps as well. So they have each done 250 miles. They are both out on track currently. Kieran Simpson is on his 99th lap, is about to complete his 100th as well. Will Power in 20th as well. And
distraction technique.
On the course.
Yeah, nice distraction technique coming into it as well. So, yeah, if it does Synthelaster as well, and as well, Ferris, you're correct, the race will be suspended until the next day, depending on how it goes. Basically, we will keep delaying it. The Indy 500 always takes precedent. If we can't, I think they have a runoff until Wednesday when the cars have to get to Detroit. So if we can't do it then, it'll be rescheduled for later in the year. And we would come back to do the Indy 500 with the same positions as what we have for qualifying now. They'll have a test day, and then they'll go into the race the following day. That's how it worked in Texas a couple of years ago when we got rained out. The longest red flag period in history. 3 months, 6 days, and 14 hours. Something like that. It was insane. Months and months and months of a red flag period. It was insane. McLaughlin still pushing hard. Getting a toe off the back of Linus Lundqvist, I think, coming into the breaker zone for 3. I'd say breaker zone, lifting zone for turn 3. Before gently popping the throttle back on. So, I'm up at 12. I'm in the box at 12:55 for a Formula E. Jess, did you say you were getting up as McLaughlin passes the 20, actually, of Ed Carpenter?
No.
Were you up for qualifying? No.
I was, but I need sleep,
Yeah.
I decided.
That is wise. So it's just me and Ed. Me and Ed have got this.
I'll be on in time for the Formula 3 sprint race.
That is 9:40.
At 9:45, I think.
Yes, you're on at 9:40.
9:40, yeah.
Everyone just getting in.
Which worked well with Megan chopping in doing the team radios when we asked for it.
Yeah. You won't have that on Sunday.
That's Josh T sorting that out.
Ah, Josh T, we have track noise as well, or just the radio?
There's TV picks.
I can have track noise if they really, really want track noise, but
I'm not bothered.
I would have to find a cable which I have lost.
Yeah, I'm not bothered. I'm just gonna get the podium stuff for my tablet.
Josh.
Yeah.
Are you still on the Ninja?
I'm always on the Ninja.
Can you?
No, I can't read that. It's all blurry.
I've turned the marker filter off. Oh me.
Is that working?
4 minutes, 20 seconds left in this session.
I've lost
Dixon, top. Castaneves second. O'Ward third on the fast lap speed. O'Ward 226.666 miles per hour, and we can blame that if he crashes out on Sunday as well. Kieran Simpson has also gone over the 100 laps completed. Callum Eilert is 2 laps away from doing that. Pietro Fittipaldi in pit road, and currently only 3 laps away from doing it as well. And round the inside of New Garden, I believe that is Carl Larson.
It is. Wonderful comment here from Jim Austin, who says, as someone born and raised in Indianapolis, I can tell you they'll run it on Tuesday or Wednesday if they have to. I remember cutting class one year on a Tuesday to go. Tuesday? Yep, it rained like a mother that year, says Ferris. It did, I remember that one. Don't remember, but I remember watching it as well. 97 was the last time we had to run it on a Monday, I believe. Oh, and Catherine Legg has something fallen off the back of their elf car. The eyes, lips and face. It looks like a streamer. Just take that off. There you go. It is a streamer. Nothing wrong with the car. There's something she's picked up from the side of the road as it comes in. 2 minutes to go. You want to be out there when you take the flag, though, as well, to get a final speed trap run. And then that'll be it. 2 weeks of practice will be complete, and the only thing left after this will be the greatest spectacle in racing. The 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. Can't wait for that. Although I'm going to be in a suit all day. Suit for Monaco, suit for the 500, suit for the 600. I'm going to need some
Josh, do I have to wear a dress for Monaco?
Well, no. You have chance to change, if I'm not mistaken. Because you're not in the race.
Yeah, I will have chance to change when the race starts, yes.
Yeah, so I won't have that chance to change. Because I go from...
Oh, right, so that's why you're doing it for Monaco. So as long as I have it for Indy, it's fine, right?
Yeah, because I go from... Oh, Sunday, here we go.
You go from MotoGP to Monaco to Indy 500 to Coca 600.
I get a 2-hour break between Indy 500 scheduled end and NASCAR start, yeah. So I get to have some food in that gap. What? No. To bedtime.
Huh?
What? What are you two on about? Speak words, humans. They're flashing whiteboards at me.
I don't know what they're doing, to be honest. I'm not even paying attention to the Ninja.
They're flashing whiteboards at me, and it's like, it's right in my eye line as well.
Just type in the chat.
It doesn't work when you're both writing and then waving it around every second. You can't read it when it's moving around.
And they need to keep it still. No, just keep it still.
We are
now AI.
Well, Ed Hunter sent me a video of AI commentators, and they weren't half bad. So...
It's Alonso!
Yeah.
Champions Edition.
Oh, yeah.
I say that. I saw that. What?
What? Oh, for God's sake. I'm not looking at that anymore. Right,
I'm leaving the Ninja. Bye.
Yeah.
Wow.
I am too. The Ninja is designed for emergency news so that you can see me in the commentary box, not for messages like that. Beep boop. Dear me. Thanks for all the great commentary for Indian practice qualifying so far this year. Charge on at the JBMotorsports team. Thank you
Caution.
for Chris.
Caution.
With 20 to go.
22 seconds
That number
remaining.
3.
Why have they done that? Debris on the start-finish straight. 2 bits of carbon fibre flown off the side of the track. Oh, multiple bits. I can see as well. Huge bit of debris sliding. Flew in. Busy day
They
here.
went with you, Matt.
Yeah, that's it. Checker flags out. And practice for the Indy 500 has concluded. So that's it. The last thing left to do is race 500 miles around the Brickyard to decide who will be the winner. The cannon has gone off in the background. Practice is done. The snake pit beginning as well. Let's give you the details. Pit stop practice will be on Sky F1 later on. That's 2:30 till 4. Sunday, our pre-show starts at 4 p.m. straight after the Monaco Grand Prix and the 108th running of the Indy 500. 12:30 till 4 Eastern. That's 5:30 here on YouTube, but British Summer Time. But you can join us for it all. Here's the results then in full. Scott Dixon from Helio Castroneves, the top 2. Dixon 227.206. Castroneves second. Award is third. Herta fourth. Blomqvist goes in fifth. Ericsson 6th. Canapino 7th. Rosenquist 8th. Palou 9th. 10th for Hunter Ray. Eilert, Simpson, Larson down 13th. Sato Fittipaldi. Followed then by Armstrong, Rahal, Andretti, Lundgaard and McLaughlin taking in 20th. Power from Daly, Kirkwood, Ferrucci, Grosjean, Rossi, Rasmussen, Stingray Robb, Carpenter, VK in 30th. Catherine Legg, Joseph Newgarden in 32nd. Linus Lundqvist 33rd. So that's it then. Let's get the final thoughts of the team. Starting with you, Jess. Prediction going into the 500? Is Jess there? Is she gone? Jess might have gone. Checo.
It's a difficult one to put up. There are so many good cars there. The Penske cars are quick, but they could fail in traffic. Man, it could also just happen during a wreck where all these good cars get taken out.
It's going to be so
I can't put my finger on someone and say that's the guy that will win it.
You've got a couple of days to work it out. Don't worry before you get your pick of winners in. Omi, what about you?
So yeah, I'll decide to pick a winner later. But practice has been interesting, so we'll see what the Indy 500 is like on Sunday, if it does take place on Sunday.
JT?
Yep, absolutely. Good practice session there, and only a couple of cautions with only around 5 minutes total lost, so they got a good running in as well. And then the finalised cars over 100 laps. Helio Castroneves 103, Canapino 105, Eilert 103, Simpson 104, Armstrong 100, Rahal 106, and the lowest is 49 laps for Ferrucci and Lundqvist.
So that's it. We've brought you all of practice and all of qualifying here from the Indianapolis 500. The next step is the big one, the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. Our coverage on Sunday here on JB Motorsports. Thanks to the whole team for their company. We'll see you for the greatest spectacle in racing in 2 days' time. Bye-bye.